SeaWorld is keeping a close eye on a killer whale blamed for killing a trainer.
It was a perfect afternoon at BlueSea Park. Families laughing, cameras flashing, and the star trainer, Elise Moreau, stepping out beside the park's prized orca.
A summer's worth family watched in horror yesterday as a killer whale at Florida's SeaWorld attacked and killed its trainer.
To the crowd, it looked magical, a woman and a predator moving as one. But within minutes, the illusion collapsed. Elise was dragged into a struggle so violent it left the audience frozen in horror. This was more than a tragic accident. It was the eruption of dangers long ignored, warnings silenced, and secrets the park fought to keep hidden. What really happened that day, and the final moments of Elise Moreau, would expose a truth darker than anyone in the stands could have imagined. A bond built on a lie. You see, Elise wasn't just an employee, she was the face of BlueSea Park. Her story was plastered on every brochure. A young woman who dreamed of working with the ocean's most intelligent creatures, she had dedicated 10 years of her life to it. At 28 years old, she was considered one of the best orca trainers in the world. People were crazy about her. Her connection with Triton was described as magical. They moved together in the water like they were extensions of one another, a perfect harmony of human and animal. The things nobody tells you is that this perfect harmony is an illusion, crafted for ticket sales. An orca, also known as a killer whale, is the ocean's apex predator. In the wild, they are incredibly complex social animals that can travel up to 100 miles in a single day. Their brains are nearly 4 times heavier than a human's, with a capacity for emotion and intelligence that we are only just beginning to understand. Confining an animal like that to what is, for them, a concrete bathtub can have devastating psychological consequences. But for the cheering crowd, these were just amazing facts that made the show even more spectacular. That day, the performance was flawless. Elise, with her radiant smile, commanded Triton with a series of precise hand signals. The giant orca leaped from the water, a magnificent arc of black and white against the blue sky, drenching the first 10 rows in a wave of cold salt water. The crowd roared with delight. Elise swam with Triton, holding onto his dorsal fin as he glided through the water at incredible speeds. She performed the famous rocket launch, where Triton would propel her feet first out of the water, sending her 15 feet into the air. It was the grand finale, the move that always left the audience breathless. But not all things are what they seem. As Elise surfaced after the rocket launch, laughing and waving to the cheering stands, she gave the signal for the final part of the show. A calm, gentle swim around the edge of the pool. A victory lap. Triton was supposed to meet her at the center of the tank, but he didn't. Instead, he floated on the far side, unusually still. Elise, ever the professional, didn't show any concern. She kept smiling, treading water, and gave the signal again. This time, Triton responded. He swam toward her, but his movements were different, faster, more erratic. An experienced trainer in the control booth felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Something was wrong. The music, a triumphant orchestral piece, suddenly felt sinister. Elise's smile faltered for just a fraction of a second as Triton swam past her, bumping her with his side. It was a gentle bump, but it was not part of the routine. The audience thought it was a playful moment. The other trainers knew it wasn't. It was a test, a challenge. But no one could have predicted what would happen next, a true descent into chaos. The jaws of the deep. In the world of animal training, there's a term called desensitization. It's the process of getting an animal so used to human presence that they no longer react to it. But you can never truly desensitize a predator. You can only suppress its instincts. And on that day, Triton's instincts came roaring to the surface. After the strange bump, Elise tried to regain control. She swam toward the side of the pool, trying to exit the water, the standard emergency procedure. But Triton was faster. He cut her off, his massive body moving with a speed and agility that seemed impossible for his size. Then he grabbed her. Not with his teeth, not yet. He took her left arm gently in his mouth, the same way he had done hundreds of times before during a specific part of the show. But this time, he didn't let go. He pulled her under the water. The crowd's cheers turned to confused murmurs. Was this part of the show? An unscheduled, thrilling addition? The park's emergency alarms, silent klaxons that only the staff could hear, began to flash. You see, the situation had escalated from a minor issue to a full-blown emergency in less than 10 seconds. The other trainers rushed to the edge of the pool, slapping the water, shaking buckets of fish, anything to distract Triton. But the orca was fixated on Elise. He held her under for what felt like an eternity, then brought her to the surface. She gasped for air, but before she could orient herself, he pulled her under again. This wasn't an act of aggression in the way a shark attacks. This was something different. It was almost like the orca was playing with a toy he didn't want to give up. The thing nobody tells you about orcas is that they are incredibly tactical. In the wild, they use their intelligence to hunt seals, tossing them in the air and dragging them under. The trainers watching in horror recognized the behavior immediately. This was predatory. For the next 30 minutes, a horrifying spectacle unfolded. Triton would drag Elise through the water, sometimes holding her by her arm, sometimes by her leg. He would breach, throwing her from the water, only to catch her again as she fell. The park staff desperately tried to deploy the emergency nets designed to separate the orca from a trainer in the water. But Triton was too smart. He evaded them, dragging Elise to the bottom of the 35-foot deep tank. The water, once a sparkling blue, began to show hints of red. The crowd was now screaming. Parents covered their children's eyes, rushing for the exits in a stampede of panic and horror. The triumphant music had long been cut, replaced by the sounds of shouting, crying, and the chilling, rhythmic splashing of the water. In his final, terrifying act, Triton took Elise down to the bottom of the pool and held her there. By the time they could finally distract him and get to her, it was far too late. The show was over, but the nightmare for BlueSea Park was just beginning. A wall of silence. In the immediate aftermath of the incident, BlueSea Park went into damage control mode. The official statement released to the press was carefully worded. They called it a tragic accident, stating that Elise had slipped and fallen into the water, and in the confusion, the orca had become agitated. They painted a picture of a trainer who made a mistake, and an animal that reacted out of stress, not malice. They even suggested that Elise's ponytail may have distracted the orca, triggering a playful but tragically misunderstood response. But not all things are what they seem. This was not just a PR spin. It was a deliberate attempt to mislead the public and protect their billion-dollar industry. Many people are crazy about these marine parks, but they don't see the machine working behind the curtain. The park knew the truth about Triton. This wasn't his first incident. Records that were later uncovered through legal action showed that Triton had a history of aggressive behavior. He had previously lunged at trainers, refused to follow commands, and even shown signs of what experts call orca psychosis, a condition linked to the stress of long-term captivity. The things nobody tells you is that a full 100% of adult male orcas in captivity have collapsed dorsal fins, a condition seen in less than 1% of wild orcas. It's a physical sign of an unhealthy, unnatural life. Triton's fin was completely bent over, a sad, drooping symbol of his broken spirit. He was also reportedly kept in isolation for long periods as punishment for misbehavior, a practice that would be psychologically torturous for such a social creature. The park fought hard to keep these details from coming out. They offered Elise Moreau's family a settlement with a strict non-disclosure agreement. They put their top trainers on every news channel, talking about their deep love for the animals and how safety was their #1 priority. They tried to frame the incident as an isolated, unforeseeable event. But a few brave former trainers from BlueSea and other parks started to speak out, telling stories of close calls, ignored warnings, and a corporate culture that consistently put profits ahead of both human and animal welfare. These whistleblowers revealed that the trainers were often young, inexperienced, and encouraged to think of the orcas as their friends, blurring the lines between a professional relationship and an emotional one. This bond was then sold to the public as proof of the animal's happiness. The controversy exploded. Animal rights groups protested outside the park, holding signs with Elise's picture, The public, once enchanted by the spectacle, began to question the morality of keeping these magnificent creatures in tanks for human entertainment. The image of the smiling trainer and the leaping whale was shattered forever, replaced by a much darker, more disturbing reality. But the biggest question remained: was BlueSea truly to blame, or was this an inevitable tragedy? A sea of change. So, after all the chaos, the press conferences and the secret legal battles, where does the truth lie? Was this the fault of one rogue animal, or was it the fault of a system that put him in that position in the first place? You see, the story of Elise Moreau and Triton forces us to look at the bigger picture. When you're sitting in the stands, it's easy to forget that you're watching a wild animal. The music, the choreography, the smiling trainers, it's all designed to make you feel safe and entertained. Let's be honest, the conversation around keeping orcas in captivity has completely changed. More and more experts are coming to the same conclusion. These animals simply aren't built for it. It's not that complicated. You can't replicate their incredibly complex social lives or their need to travel vast distances in a concrete pool. So, you have to wonder, what was the missing piece for all those years? It all boils down to one word: stress. We're talking about chronic, debilitating stress that wrecks their immune systems and leads to serious psychological damage. And this is where the story slides into even wilder territory. Some of the theories out there push beyond just stress and into the realm of a consciousness we can't comprehend. There's speculation that their intelligence is not just animalistic, but cultural. Think about that. A shared culture with history and memory passed down through generations. Some researchers whisper about the possibility that incidents in captivity aren't just random acts of a stressed-out animal, but a form of deliberate communication, a desperate message they know we can't ignore. You even see strange, coordinated behaviors in the wild now, like those pods off the coast of Europe that have systematically started targeting and disabling sailboats. Is it just a game, or is it a learned behavior being taught? A form of organized rebellion against our presence? It makes you wonder if they have a collective memory of capture, of a time when our ships were a threat. We might be looking at an intelligence so alien and profound that caging it isn't just cruel, it's an act of cosmic arrogance. Everything really came to a head after the incident with Elise Moreau. That was the turning point. Suddenly, the public's fascination turned into horror. People stopped going to BlueSea Park. Ticket sales just plummeted. Her story lit a fire, really. It launched a global movement that forced the entire marine park industry to defend itself. You had documentaries exposing the truth, and a real push for laws to stop this for good. BlueSea Park tried to do damage control, of course. They ended their breeding program and started calling their shows educational. But for many of us, it just felt hollow, a classic case of too little, too late. When you really think about it, the tragedy of Elise Moreau is bigger than just one trainer and one orca. It forces us to look at our own desire for entertainment and ask what lines we're willing to cross. It's a permanent, chilling reminder that you can take the killer whale out of its home, but you can never truly train the killer out of the whale. That instinct is always there, waiting right under the surface. Like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories you thought you knew. What do you think? Should magnificent creatures like orcas ever be kept for our entertainment?